All right, so welcome to House Divided. This is going to be just a podcast that TZ and I came up with just because we think our opinions are important and that there's probably somebody who cares what we think and maybe wants to debate with us or discuss the topics. And we value your feedback. So um, thank you for watching our podcast. This podcast comes to you sponsored by Smoothies and Coffee. So if you're in the DFW area, in the Prosper Frisco area mainly, check them out. They're on 121 or 380. Sorry, 380. Here's their contact information if you want to check them out. Go get a smoothie. So, anyways, this podcast we're just going to be talking about our thoughts on different things. It could be sports, gaming, people watching, whatever we come up with week to week. We'll debate it. You want to comment in the comments, please do. We'll probably ignore them, but some of you might have some good feedback, and we'll follow up with that. So we're talking about today the AP Top 10, the preseason AP Top 10. So just for everybody that doesn't know us or do know us, just know that our opinion for this part is the same. We both don't agree with the preseason AP Top 10 coming out. Think it's a scam and a wash, but we're going to talk about it anyway. So, TZ, first up, let's talk about your top 10.
All right. So, as they have the top 10 ranked, like I said, I'll get in and start speaking about it. But like you said, my name is TZ. I am the Longhorn fan in the House Divided podcast. I'm not going to say Texas is back, but hopefully we're making steps in that way. I know it didn't seem like it after last season. But getting into it, like I said, the top 10, they have Bama, Ohio State, Georgia, Clemson, Notre Dame, Texas A&M, Utah, Michigan, Oklahoma, and Baylor. In all honesty, if they're going to do a preseason poll, I don't have too much issue with how they have it. Like I said, I like Bama. Obviously, they're returning their QB. They have Nick Saban, and regardless of what he says, I don't know what a rebuilding year at Alabama is, so no reason to believe they won't always stay locked and loaded. Ohio State, again, they're returning their QB. Ryan Day has been proven himself to be a commodity. Seems like they always have wide receivers, so no issue, like I said, with them being in the polls and early polls. Like I said, then they have Georgia, of course, Kirby Smart, national champions. So I understand Clemson as well. We'll get into Clemson. Notre Dame's number 5 again. They're having some issues, or not issues, but they're going to do some changes, so we'll see how everything plays out with there. Texas A&M, I do like them. I don't love them. I do have some questions about some of the players, some of the units that they're going to have. Then they have Utah. I actually really do love Utah. I think they're underrated. It hurts when I speak about them because their QB is Cam Rising, and he was a former Longhorn, and then he transferred out of there. So anytime he does well, it is a little bit of pain with a little bit of joy. Then, like I said, we have Michigan. Same situation. Kind of like with A&M, I like but not love them. And I really don't like Jim Harbaugh, honestly. It's not that I don't like him. I'm just not the biggest fan of him, believer in him. They had a good year last year, but we'll see how this year goes. Then at number 9, we have Oklahoma. I know they lost Lincoln Riley, but they're playing the Big 12, and they've been running the Big 12 for about as many years as the Cowboys haven't gone to the Super Bowl. So we'll see what happens with them. And then at number 10, they have Baylor. I actually really do like their head coach. I like the culture, what he's talking about and what he's doing, the mindset. I really like their defense, their philosophies, the way they play. They are a sneaky good team, I think, and we'll see how they finish out this year, though. But those are just my thoughts on the initial top 10 that they have ranked. Those are just my initial thoughts on those teams.
Okay. So just another FYI, there are no Cowboys fans on this podcast. So if you're a Cowboys lover, just know that there's always going to be a shot at the Cowboys. Probably there's every conversation deserves a shot at the Cowboys, especially their fan base. So obviously, since he's the Longhorn, I would be the Aggie in this bunch. So gig 'em. You can see my A&M logo in the background. I got my maroon on, so I'm ready to go. So, I mean, to follow up what TZ said, I mean, obviously 1 and 2 are pretty safe picks. Alabama, Ohio State, there's nothing to really complain about. I actually favor Ohio State over Alabama a little bit just because of how high-powered their offense is that's guaranteed to return. But you can't really complain Alabama, Ohio State 1 and 2. Georgia, Clemson, I think both of those schools are too high. Georgia, they lost too much on defense. And I don't really – now, to the point of Georgia fans, you guys have always had a good defense, so I'm sure you'll have a good defense. But will you have a national championship defense? I don't know. Your offense wasn't any good last year. Is it any better this year? You lost so much. I'm not certain that you're a number 3 team, but until proven otherwise, you're probably going to win the East. Clemson, I saw DJ in those Dr. Pepper commercials. That's about the best he did all season. I saw an article yesterday that said it's telling about Clemson that a 10-win season is a down year for them. And it was eye-opening to me that I had forgotten that they actually won 10 games based on the way that they played all season. I'm not a fan of Clemson. They lost their offensive coordinator. They lost their defensive coordinator. They lost a ton of talent. They do return 8 starters on both sides of the ball, so they've got an experienced team, but experienced garbage is still experienced garbage. They do benefit from a strength of schedule that's probably lower than the Sisters of the Poor. They don't play anybody but ACC schools, and the ACC might as well be the Pac-12. Their conference is terrible. Notre Dame and Texas A&M are my real biggest problems in this poll because Notre Dame and Texas A&M don't belong in the top 10. Notre Dame, their strength is returning offensive line, and congratulations. Good for you. Their defense will have to rebuild. They did keep their defensive coach as now their head coach, but they're always just overhyped. I don't understand. But as we understand, preseason polls are there to sell tickets, so you need Notre Dame to be number 5 to make that Ohio State matchup to start the season worthwhile. Otherwise, it's just a publicized beating because Ohio State's going to murder Notre Dame, and you can book that one. If you want to bet money on it, you can give me some of the proceeds because Notre Dame's going to get throttled that game. I just don't believe they're number 5. Texas A&M at 6. Tarek said earlier that he has too many questions about the units. We don't even have a starting QB as of August 25th. The season starts in a week, and we don't know the starting QB. The fans don't know. Of course, the team knows who the starting QB is, but we don't know enough. And it's like we return 4 starters on offense, 5 on defense. How is that the makings of a top 10 team? I don't see it. We still have a tough schedule. We'll maybe survive this Arkansas-Miami 2-game stretch, and that either propels us towards a 10-win season or another 8-4 season. I don't believe in them. Utah, I agree with TZ. They're way underrated. They belong way higher in the poll. I'm betting on them to make the playoffs this year. Michigan at 8. They won the Big Ten. They got the playoffs. You give them the benefit of the doubt, but I think they lost too much talent. Oklahoma, again, they lost their offensive coach, their identity. They're shifting towards a more physical presence, but they're the Big 12. They're the champions. Even if they don't win, every year they're going to be in the running. So congratulations to OU. You got to give them that. Baylor, shout out to Coach Johnson. They return so much. Why are they 10? They should be higher up. They are the reigning Big 12 champions. They should be getting that potential playoff love. But again, to Baylor's detriment, every time they get hyped up, they underperform. So you don't want to boost them up too high because you know that they're just going to Baylor at the end of the season anyway. So that's probably why they're at number 10. So, all right. So we've given you our perspectives. So what you came to see is what we think who should be in those spots. So let's take a look at the board to see where we think everybody should be. All right. So,
and just to follow up on some of the points that you made, I do agree. Like I said, I'm not the biggest fan of Clemson, but I have Notre Dame here. I don't like them, don't love them, but they play in the ACC. So the path is just there. And the same thing with Notre Dame. I agree with you. I don't like them at all, but who do they play? They play in the independent, and they only schedule one big game each year. So we'll definitely see how that goes. And like I said, I disagree with you a little bit about Oklahoma, but at the end of the day, I think we still have the same premises. That I hate to say it, they're playing the Big 12, and you know how that's been going of lately. But yeah, that's just to add some more meat on the bones there, what you're saying. But let's go to the top 10.
All right, so who you got at number one?
Number one, I have Alabama.
Okay, think we agree on that. Both gonna have Alabama at number one. So do you got Ohio State at two?
I surely do.
Okay, so who you got at three?
At three, I have Utah.
Interesting. Okay, so let's talk about Utah at three.
Who do you have at number three?
I actually have Utah at three. I'm just surprised that you picked Utah at three.
They are, like I said, they're returning as they say, the most important position of all the sports. They're returning the quarterback who has proven that he can play. If he plays well this year, I don't see why he isn't a first round draft pick. I'm not going to say first pick overall or anything like that, but he should be a first round draft pick if he plays well like he played last year. And they play in, I don't know, Pac-10, Pac-12, forgot how many teams in there now, but they play in a weak conference as well. It's slightly stronger than the ACC, so yeah, they just got to watch out for those trap games and slip ups. But I really love their team. They return a lot of players, and like I said, they return the quarterback. The head coach is still in place. There hadn't many talked about him leaving or anything like that. So I just see a lot of stability there. And this might be the year that they might be. I'm going to say Cincinnati, but this might be the year where they actually do live up to whatever preseason expectations that they have, and they are. And I do believe they're the best team in that conference.
Yeah. By far, I believe they're the best team. But wow, I'm shocked you went Utah 3. Yeah, so there's zero that I disagree with you, surprisingly, in that Utah. Like, I imagine they're going to make it to the playoffs. And now, granted, I don't think they're Alabama, Ohio State, but I think this year they cracked the playoffs. So, all right, who you got at 4?
4, I still have Georgia. They are the defending champions, and they return. I understand they lost a lot on defense, but they still have a lot of players who are there for that championship team. And we're seeing some time at least. And the quarterback isn't the best, but he's stability, he knows the system, he's experienced. So, and I understand the offense didn't look explosive, but it's not like they don't have talent on the roster to be explosive. So it's just about calling the right plays at the right times, right situations. And I understand, like I said, I think his name is Stetson Bennett. He's handicapped because I don't think he's as talented as a Cam Rising, so to speak. But yeah, I still think they're going to be a good team. Just the only thing with them, unfortunately, unlike Utah, they play in a very tough conference. I know it's not as tough as the other side of the SEC, but the SEC is a tough conference, so that's going to be the only thing that can possibly slip them up. But otherwise, I think they're a pretty solid team, or a pretty good team coming back.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Like I said, they're reigning national champion. Even though you didn't start, you still were there. You still got to get reps. So they're probably not going to fall off that much on defense. They have the easiest schedule of this lot so far that we have in the top 10. Their only major test is allegedly Kentucky, who's currently ranked 15th, I think. So, yeah, I agree. Georgia at 4. What do you got 5?
At 5?
Well, let me go first. Okay. So at 5, I have the Baylor Bears.
So, and that is interesting because I'm looking at the list that I got written down, and although I think they're more talented than the team, I'm going to say at number 5, I'm going to say Notre Dame.
Notre Dame.
Just because they play the easiest schedule.
No, this year they have a tough schedule. Like, they have Ohio State and Clemson this year. So if those two teams are in your top 10, they got 2 teams in the top 10 on their schedule. They play Ohio State to start the season. That's an L off the bat. You get an L, Notre Dame, on that first game. You're going into Columbus, and they're going to squash you.
Okay. But that's what I was debating about. So obviously then my number 16 is going to be Baylor, but I can easily flip-flop those two.
Okay. So Baylor at 6. Yeah, I mean, it's hard for me to understand the disrespect for the reigning Big 12 champions that are bringing back the same guys that just won the Big 12 championship. So I understand Baylor at 6. I'm going to go ahead and give another team the benefit of the doubt like you gave Notre Dame. I'm going to give Clemson this shot at 6. They're returning a bunch of
Talk to me
kids.
about that.
Huh?
Yeah, talk to me about that. I was like, talk to me about that.
So Clemson at 6. So they're returning the bulk of their team, and Dabo has been talking, and it could just be coach talk who's going to say their team sucks, but Dabo's been talking a good presser game about the development of DJ Ugalele. And so it's like, all right, well, if he finally has turned the corner, last year they had some offensive line troubles. Maybe this year the line has solidified. They've had a whole year of experience, and they won their last 6 games, so they got it together. They started 4-3, but came on and won their last 6 games. So maybe that was the maturity that DJ needed to have some adversity and learn how to overcome and learn how to not be the best player on the team and build up that team. The defense is still there. They lost their coordinators, but I still think at the end of the day, you'll see Clemson at the top in the top 10 to finish the season. Plus, they play in the ACC. They play their toughest game is Notre Dame and NC State. They play nobody all season.
Yeah, and that's why at the end of it, just like with you with Notre Dame, for me, at the end of the day, I can't argue too much with you because who do they play? Even though, like I said, I'm not sure if it's one of those situations I feel like Clemson could be winning, and I'm not sure if DJ Ugalele even finishes the season as a starter because there have been high talks, and of course he is from the Austin area and I'm a Texas fan, but there have been high talks and praises about Kay Klubernick coming in there. So we'll see how that plays out for the season because I think DJ is on a short lease.
Yeah, and shout out to all you players who have these really ridiculous names that we can't pronounce. It's no disrespect.
There's no disrespect.
Yeah, no disrespect. All right, so who you got at 7?
All right, let me look here.
I can tell you who I have.
At 7, I am going to go because like I said, I've been making some last minute adjustments on my list on the fly. At 7, I'm going to go A&M.
Okay. Tell me some positive news so my battered Aggie syndrome can kick in and I can start to hope that we're gonna actually be good and kick in.
Well, even though there are questions at quarterback, and as I've said and said it before, that's supposed to be the most important position in sports. I do think the right play calling with the playmakers that y'all have, with A-Chain and Anaya Smith, if y'all lean heavily on them, they can allow whoever is the quarterback some more time to be able to grow and make some mistakes. I do believe in y'all's defense. It even hurts to say that. And then especially with the haul that y'all just pulled in, if for some reason those young guys can get on the field and because I feel like there's less of a learning curve on defense sometimes. And especially what situation you're putting. Put it on a third down and long and you say, oh, go get the quarterback and you're really good at that, you can be super effective as a freshman. So I'm leaning more on y'all's defense and the offensive playmakers that y'all do have returning. And even some of the ones that y'all brought in, I do like Evan Stewart. I think y'all have Musa Muhammad Jr. as a wide receiver. I just think they have to get more involved. Jimbo's been talked about as his quarterback whisperer, but his last success story has been Jameis Winston. If you look at the list, his track record of quarterbacks since then, even at Florida State, he hasn't been really good. And so I just think he's been a little bit too full of himself. So hopefully this year, he just simplifies the offense and just lean on the players who can make plays. And if you have to do something special or change it up, then change it up. But until then, just lean on A-Chain and Anaya Smith. Just get the ball in their hands any way possible.
Yeah. So, and I'll take the flame and hatred from A&M fans, but Jimbo as a play caller is a no-go for me. We brought in Daryl Dickey. His offenses at Memphis were awesome. Why aren't we letting this man call plays? We let him call plays for the Alabama game. We saw what that changed in our team. Why are we not giving that man? We're paying this man this money. Why aren't we letting them go? My number 7 is not even in the top 10. I'm going with Oregon here at number 7. Oregon in Utah in the Pac-10, 12, whatever they are, they just have a wide open lane. Oregon has a ton of talent. They went toe to toe with Notre Dame, and so if Notre Dame's a top 10 team, then Oregon returning all their players, they're a top 10 team. So I got Oregon at 8. I got another team not on the board, but another team from a weaker conference, and I love taking digs at the Big 12. I got Okie State coming in at 8. I'm a believer in Spencer Sanders and what the offense can do, and their slate is pretty much lined up except for the wild card OU and Baylor matchups. I think Oklahoma State has a chance to win the Big 12 and sneak into the playoffs.
You go ahead and put 8. OK State at 8 for me as well too. I do that. It may be a little biased, but I do think Oklahoma State has a history of starting off well, getting high in the polls early in the season, and as the season goes along, they just don't live up to expectations or to what they were billed as. So I have no issue with starting them at number 8, but I do not think they will finish in the top 10, which isn't a far cry, but they might not even be a top 15 team. But I understand they might have finished last year. I'm not sure exactly where they finished last year, but I just think, end of the day, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt right now. Spencer Sanders is he's a solid player. He's not spectacular, but he's definitely not sorry or anything like that. And Gundy has proven to be consistent. And what he consistently does is 8-4, 9-5, whatever it is. He might have the case of 10-win season. So that's
dissing Gundy for no apparent reason.
It's just the law of averages. If I'm a 40% 3-point shooter on my career and I start off and hit my first 5 shots or first 4 shots, law of averages will tell you that I have to come back down. I might hit 1 more, I might hit 2 more, but I'm not going to make as many as I just did in my previous 4 shots. It's the law of averages. And so Oklahoma just, like I said, Oklahoma State will rise up, but then they'll come back down and level down.
Yeah, level of disrespect and hatred there is clear. Who you got at 9?
At 9, I have Big Brother. I got OU.
OU.
I just think, like I said, they have the confidence to just, I don't care. I know they didn't win the championship game last year, but the Big 12 doesn't scare them at all or have any fear or anything like that. No team truly puts anything into them. They've just been running the conference for so long, but there are some, I understand, question marks because Lincoln Riley has left. Venables has never been a head coach, so can he do that? Obviously, he can coach defense. And then with Levy coming in, can he replicate the success he had at a lower level school? It was still Power 5 or, whatever. It was still a Division I school, whatever. But can he and the new quarterback that was the quarterback when he coached at UCF, can they come in and have some chemistry? We'll see. But I just think with them being in the Big 12 and how they've been running the Big 12, I just got to put them there.
You can't really rule them out. So at 9, I got another team sneaking into the top 10 that I think should get more press than they're currently getting, and that's my sleeper SEC East team, Kentucky. Returning too much, have an easy path through the East, except for when they meet Georgia. That's in October. They could be undefeated heading into that matchup. So I like Kentucky. And then at 10.
Hold on. Let me ask you about Kentucky, because do you think Kentucky will finish? Or where will they finish at? Will they still finish in the top 25 at the end of the year?
Oh, yeah. Their lone loss is potentially Georgia, with them potentially upsetting Georgia and taking the East. So Kentucky ends up in the top 15 to end the season and potentially win the SEC East.
I just don't know how. I get what you're saying. I understand the rationale of thinking. I just don't. Kentucky's no Kentucky in football. Like,
they're a basketball school. I get it.
That's what I'm saying. They've never been there before. Now there's these sort of expectations. I just don't see them living up to it in the end. Well, I have no issue with them being ranked and higher in the polls or even ranked, period. But again, it is his preseason polls.
Right. And so this is why we recorded it. That's why we got this recorded, so that way at the end of the season we could come back and get bragging rights on who was the closest to how it ended up shaking out. My 10, I got to kind of pair it 10A, 10B, because I'm not really sold on either of these teams, but if we were going to do it, they could be 10 or 11, kind of how you had your Notre Dame Baylor 5-6. I'm going with 10A being Michigan and 10B being OU. Happy wife, happy life. I couldn't keep OU out of the top 10 and still sleep soundly at night with my wife being a Sooner grad. So I go Michigan and OU. I agree with Venables and the questions that he has there. I'm not sold on Dylan Gabriel. He doesn't wow me. So I think their offense is going to take a huge dip. But they play in the Big 12. They have that swagger about them of knowing they're always the team to beat. So you give them the nod. Michigan, they won the Big 10.
Mm-hmm.
And their big contests are still Ohio State. Can they get over the hump and win at Ohio State? I don't know. I don't think so. I'm not a fan of Jim Harbaugh, but that's just because of he gives me that Texas vibe of arrogance, of entitlement, that he thinks he's the best just by showing up. So Michigan 10, 10A, 10B, OU. Who you got?
Kind of in the same fashion. I do have Michigan there at number 10. But as you kind of alluded to, I guess mine's more complex. So I got Michigan, Oregon, and NC State.
Ooh, okay. NC State.
They play in the ACC.
Okay.
I feel like they play in the ACC and they know who they are.
Okay.
They are the type of school where winning the 9 games is a wonderful season for them. So they don't have these aspirations of winning the national championship. So I think I think they can get Clemson this year. If Ukulele is a quarterback, they can get Clemson this year.
Okay. Well, there you have it. So you got our top 10s. So like I said, leave us comments. Tell us what you think. You can tweet at us. Mine is TSellersAg03. I don't even know what's your Twitter. Like, you got a Twitter? What we doing here? We'll add it.
No, I'll make a Twitter.
Okay. And yeah, so thank you again for checking us out. And have a good day. And remember, come check out House Divided in the next podcast. See you guys later.
Take it easy.